provided. So welcome councillors and staff to the February agenda briefing. Disclaimer, the agenda briefing sessions are used to inform councillors on the items of business to be presented and discussed at the forthcoming ordinary council meeting. These meetings are open to members of the public who may request to present a deputation to council relating to an item on the agenda. No decisions are made at these meetings, although councillors can request additional information or alternative wording be provided to allow for motions to be prepared for consideration at the forthcoming ordinary council meeting. Any statement regarding any planning or development application made during an agenda briefing session is not to be taken as notice of approval. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to the decision made by council. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming of these proceedings and uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their cultures and to elders past, present and emerging. Record of apologies and leave of absence. I have received a record of apologies from Councillor Holly and Councillor Crispin, and Councillor Boyland may be attending on Zoom, and we have Councillor Dickinson on Zoom. So can you hear me, Councillor Dickinson? We can't hear you. Might be a microphone issue. Okay, as long as you can hear us, Councillor Dickinson, and you keep working on that. If you've got any questions, write them on a piece of paper and hold them up and I'll read them out. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I think that worked.
The volume.
Okay, declarations of members and officers' personal interests. We have two declarations, one from Councillor Capragrego and one from Councillor Bromham, as what's on the screen. Are there any others, councillors? Councillor Coleman?
Yes, I also emailed one in to say the same 5.3.2. The owner of the property is known to me, but I'll stay in chambers and vote on its merits.
Thank you. Deputations is nil. Okay, officers' reports. CEO's executive officer is nil, so we'll move into infrastructure services. 5.2.1, self-supporting loan for Bushfire Brigade facility. Are there any questions, councillors? I just had one. My understanding is that the project for the Leschenot Bushfire Brigade has been identified in our forward capital works and has been fully funded. So is it the same works that they're asking to be done that we've already got funded, or is it a whole new building?
I've got Hayden Jones and the images, but I'll answer some of it. It was going to be fully funded. I mean, in that forward capital works plan, it was fully funded by EFS.
Yeah.
And then we would contribute some money for design, landscaping and that. And my understanding is it's a brand new building there to replace the one that's past its use by date, doesn't comply. There's issues with access for the fire engine. So in our forward capital works plan, and it was in our forward capital works plan, for this financial year, but we didn't get the funding, so we've shifted it over to the next financial year.
Okay, then. Councillor Coleman?
Thanks, Madam President. So have all I might have got the wrong end of the stick, but it sounds like we're taking out a loan for them to make the repayments. If that's the case, why don't they just take out the loan? They're government partner.
Well, I didn't have those discussions with them, Mr. Jones did, but yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously the loan will be on our books, not theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll be servicing that loan, but it'll be a loan against our capacity to borrow.
And that was going to be my question. It reduces our capacity to borrow for projects that are inherently ours.
Yeah, that's correct, and that's why we've talked about that, supporting this may affect some of our projects that are subject to loan borrowing in the long-term financial plan.
So we don't know why they can't get their own loan?
Again, I didn't have those discussions. I don't know if Mr. Jones can add anything to that, but that's a discussion that he's had with them.
Mr. Jones, are you able to enlighten us?
Not working, I'll have to yield. Can you hear me? I'm just talking. Yeah, look, those discussions have not been held in those words exactly about why don't they have their own loan and be able to get more money to be able to fund these projects. That's something that Director of Corporate Services has asked the same question. From their modelling, so that was part of the show. This is the model that they work on. Their issue that they deal with their own structures within their state government is they're provided with so much money each year to be able to have as part of the ESL, which runs a lot of operational costs within DFES, also does the funding through LGGS, which is local government's grant scheme. And as part of that, they also roll out their fleet, which is all the replacement vehicles and equipment. And the other aspect of it is the capital, which is the buildings. The issue that they have is they only have so much of a pool of money available to be able to achieve all those aspects. From their perspective, which they've had communication with our staff, is that to be able to achieve some of the projects in the short term, having the loan repayments over a period of time taken over by local government allows those projects to be achieved in a shorter period. Otherwise, you've got to there's a lot of projects competing for the small amount of money available. So the exact question is why they don't actually take their own loan. I haven't got an answer for that, but my rest of my answer was coming from the reason why they request the local government to have that. It becomes a local government asset at the end of it. It is a local government asset at the start of it. So that's another aspect as well.
So if we weren't to do this self-supporting loan and just address the maintenance issues for the Leschenault Bush Fire Brigade, does that still make it a functional building for the Fire Brigade?
Through the chair, I'll respond quickly to yourself about this one. There are a number of different issues. The solutions which we were looking for, we were originally going to go back to DFES requesting funding to be able to do the works to it. There is significant works required to be spent on it. One of the issues that we've got is the height of the roller door to allow that 3-4 it's a piece of fire equipment for other people. It's the size of it, it's the height of it. And the design of what the building was never designed for that more modern piece of equipment. And there is like telecommunication equipment that is damaged each time it comes in and out. So to be able to actually lift the height of that of the roller door, it's currently at the apex of where the roof meets the top wall. So you cannot actually lift it any higher unless you do major structural work to the whole building. And the other option would be is to then construct an alternative bay to that, which is building a whole new shed-like structure. But there's also a building being built in the 1982, and it was a community-funded building. Some of the works potentially done was not to the longevity if we would like to have a building of this age of modern standard, which means they've got some problems with some damp proofing, they've got some issues with accessibility and access to facilities. And when the brigade was originally established, there was only somewhere between 8 to 14 members, and now the membership's gone to sort of over 60. So there is works that can be done to it. the concerns is if this is something which will eventually get changed because or be redeveloped because of its age, and it has been identified and put on the radar of DFIS about an aged building, then spending a significant amount of money to then have to replace that building might not be the most financially sensible solution. But we do have a problem at the moment that needs to be resolved. So this was one way to at least bring the project forward to potentially see if we could then have it constructed in short term versus potentially in the longer term, because there's only a shortfall about available amount of money of DFS for these projects.
Yeah, and through the chair, I suppose the answer is we don't know why they don't just borrow the money and pay it back. Why it should be on our books, and we also don't know if we say no to the self-supporting loan, whether we'll actually ever get funding for the building. So, yeah.
I've got Councillor Bronwyn first, then back to Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. Have we done a self-supporting loan for a fire type of facility prior?
Yeah, through the chair, yeah, there has been one done. The Hills Bushfire Brigade and the Harvey SCS building. That was a self-supporting loan, I think, in 2014 or 16. That's something which the Shire supported then. The Director of Corporate Services might be able to provide a bit more detail on how that one worked then, but that went to council in either 2014 or 2016.
Yeah.
Councillor Coleman.
Based on these issues that you outlined, sort of long-term and short-term, is there the opportunity to provide via self-supporting loans and funding to address the immediate issues, and then advocate with the upcoming elections to government, to state government and federal government to get funding for the longer term for that specific project? Is that something that's viable rather than have a 10-year loan on the books?
Speak to that now. Christian? Distracted by the microphone then. Reflect back on what the question was. So there are works that can be completed to it to resolve it, but we haven't costed everything out in that side of that aspect. Our first solution was actually looking at how we could the project as a whole, and this is one thing which we've been having to try and look at how we're going to try and review this aging building. The second part was the issues that we've identified and what needs to be done to it, and because of the age of the building, the design of it, it has meant that any major structural work may be quite significantly expensive to complete, especially in this climate of construction and building. And that address one aspect of it, where overarching the whole building has actually got some issues which the brigade members have been dealing with for a number of years. I don't know if I answered your question completely right because I was sort of distracted by the microphone. So if there's anything I missed, please repeat it for me.
No, I was just querying whether or not we could do some short-term funding fixes without compromising the rest of it, and then advocate to government, state government, to get the longer-term completed project done, rather than have long-term loan on our books. That was my question, but you've answered.
Mr. Winter, did you have something you were? All right, my question was, is it normal to do a self-supporting loan over a 10-year period? Can you shorten that, or?
Thank you, Madam President. You can do a 5-year, a 7-year, a 10-year, a 20-year. Normally they don't go over 20-year. 10 is the most common self-supporting loan through WATC, but there is capacity to go less than that.
Councillor Bronwyn?
Yeah, so with that, Chair, would the 10-year loan period be due to DFS's capacity to repay the loan over that?
Sorry, are you saying does DFS have capacity to pay the loan over that period? Sorry.
No, I'm saying would DFS have asked for 10 years because they know over that period of time they have capacity to pay from whatever bucket of money they're paying from.
Look, I'm surmising on that, but they've said that they would be able to, if this all went ahead, that they would be able to fund the self-supporting loan repayments over that period. So, yes, they've got operating funds to do that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily capacity for taking out
Yeah, if I may. I guess what I was suggesting there was if we shorten the period to 5 years, for instance, we don't have the capacity to pay them, given the restrictions on their own finances. I guess you can't answer that because that'd be a DFS thing.
Okay, councillors, any other questions on this item? Okay, thanks, Hayden. Item, what are we up to now? 5.3.1, overheight, outbuilding and building envelope modification or Leschnott. Are there any questions for this one, councillors? Councillor Capagrigo.
Chair, just with the overheight, this is the one at Grosemount, Glade, Leschnott. Will there be any clearing required for this? Because I have a look at the plan, it looks like it's quite close to the large trees that are on the one side of it. Where the building looks to be separated from the neighbours by quite a large bit of bushland that's there.
Through Madam Chair, I understand there will be some minor clearing, but that clearing that is occurring is actually already inside the existing building envelope, so it's permitted. So we're not clearing outside the envelope.
And the second question I've got is the roof space on that property, the area. There seems to be a lot of roof on that block. Are we within the guidelines there, like allowing this additional building?
Yes, well and truly within the site coverage.
Oh, thanks. That's the only questions I had.
Any other questions, councillors? Okay, 5.3.2, proposed use not listed community home, specialist disability accommodation in Harvey. Councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. Just a clarification, if I may. We talk about it being a class 3, and I guess versus a 9C that requires a carer to help somebody out if there is an emergency. And there are clearly carers facilities going into those group homes. Are we restricting them by making it a class 3 instead of a 9C is one question. And the objections that we received, the 2 objections, are they from the front 2 people? They're my 2 questions.
Through Madam Chair, as far as where the objections are concerned, I'm not actually able to advise that because they're entitled to their anonymity, so I don't actually know where they're from. As far as 9C versus 3 is concerned, so under the NDIS requirements, so a 9C, 9C relates to aged care accommodation, not necessarily the full range of disabilities. So we would consider that if we were to require the need for a class 3, it actually picks up class 9C, because a 9C is an aged care building, whereas a 3 actually covers a wider range of care requirement and disability needs.
So less restrictive, not more restrictive?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Capagrigo.
Thanks. Just got one question. So the purpose of the 2 units, buildings, are for people with disabilities. How do we police that? Once these buildings are completed and are habitable, how do we police that the people that are actually in there actually have a disability and not just filling up with seasonal workers? Or that's the question I have.
These buildings have been designed and approved and constructed with the capacity to accommodate for that type of care. If and it's understood, and there's going to be a couple of these coming through next meeting as well. It's understood that the owners actually enter into a service agreement through NDIS to provide for care. Now, they can enter into that agreement and that can go forever. Or that agreement can change based on tenants, or they might turn around and say, we no longer wish to do this. We have no ability to require them to actually continue providing that care. It's just something that we can't do. But the building will always have the capacity to actually allow for that level of care. So we think that these buildings are purposely built. There is that federal funding to allow for carers to come in. So we do believe that they will actually use it for the intended purpose. But if they cease to use it for that intended purpose, I can't make them actually do it.
Councillor Bromham, you had a couple of questions you sent through.
In relation to this, yeah. Thanks, Madam President. I just, with answer prior to this, but I just asked a question about impacts on pavements and other facilities may be required to support such a. Did you see it?
Footpaths.
Footpaths. I sense that it is.
Oh, so you, Madam Chair, I believe the response was provided. I'm not exactly sure what the response was. So if you require some further clarification, I would actually need to refer to my manager of planning services.
No, I was pleased with the answer.
Okay.
I'll pass it to others later.
Okay, no further questions then. We'll move to 5.3.3, over height outbuilding in Cookanup. Are there any questions, councillors, for this one? No. 5.3.4, proposed use not listed telecommunications infrastructure, Logue Road, Mornington. Any questions, councillors?
That's one of those.
One of them, okay. Okay, no further questions. We'll move on to item 5.3.5, Mocha 2024 visit. Councillors, are there any questions for this item? Councillor Coleman.
I'm just curious, I noticed in the report that we're not going to have any more delegations until late 2025. So do we have some more scheduled in? Was one of the questions. And my understanding was, from the little bit of interaction I had here, is that we provided interpreters here, and we're suggesting that we'll provide interpreters there as well. What would be the benefits to our greater ratepayers for more people going, rather than, in some instances, just the President and the CEO, for example, have gone. So I'm just looking for the benefits. I've been contacted by a number of community members who are a bit concerned and asked for that question to be clarified. So if I may.
Madam Chair, what I might do, if it's okay, is actually refer those questions to the Manager of Economic Development, who will have some much more precise answers than
Welcome, Minister.
Yes, so in answer to how often and not until 2025, there is an agreement that basically will rotate visits. So they came to us. This year we will go to them, and then the following year they will come to us, including school visits and things like that as well. Taking you through the last question in terms of, we signed up to this agreement a year or so ago, and we've made a commitment, as the way I see it, to this and to honour this relationship we have created. They sent 8 people to us, one their mayor and 7 officers. Their recommendation is less than that. I think anything less than that, even more, would probably be a little bit of an insult, but understand we are in a difficult, we need to look at the economic benefit, and well, for us it's an education benefit. In terms of the interpreter, They brought an interpreter as well, so one of the attendees acted as the interpreter. They also have the benefit that actually at least half their staff to 3/4 of their staff did speak English, where on our side we don't, other than hello and how are you. However, we have since received notice that the Japanese teacher from Australand, who is extremely fluent and was highly regarded during the visit, has asked to join us on this trip. So far, we don't have that actually finalised, but there's a good chance he would join us. We may need some additional support just because our English and our Japanese is so bad. We're hoping to avoid that. Hopefully there will be another couple of Japanese teachers that will join and then can act as interpreters for us. But yeah, we already do have one very skilled Japanese teacher. She would be the strongest in the southwest and one of the strongest Japanese teachers in Western Australia. So joining us, we're hoping that we can avoid any budget costs. We did, however, suggest that we look at interpretation over there because then we don't have to pay for an airfare. Obviously, it would be lovely to take the interpreter we used here with us, but obviously there's a lot more of a cost because we would have to provide her airfare and accommodation rather than just potentially hiring someone over there for a few hours that we may need that person. We're hoping to avoid that cost, but when we presented the budget, we wanted to present the maximum cost this could possibly be. We're hoping to bring it under that budget. So, yeah. Does that answer all your questions, Councillor?
I think just if you could outline for us, and I appreciate we've signed the agreement, and I do understand very much reciprocal agreements being in Rotary. What's the benefit to our Harvey community? What can we as councillors say that yes, we could or we may pay for this, and the benefit to our Harvey community, and I mean Harvey Shire, not Harvey itself, but Harvey Shire community is X. What is that benefit?
For us, this agreement has always been about our schools. The majority of our schools now learn Japanese and developing those relationships between them, and that's where our true benefit is. Of course, there's potentially other economic benefits and tourism benefits, but I truly believe the strongest is our school benefits. You know, and now that we've got Harvey Ag joined up with the agriculture school in Mocha, and we have a number of, as I said, most of them do speak Japanese, and it provides a cultural means. Australians is very excited after they did the ground yards for 25 years that there is now a momentum to start that. It is recognised that, we are now at 30,000 people, and it is expected that anyone that sort of is getting city status does this form of thing. Do I recommend we take on another 3 sister cities? No. I think at this stage, we keep this one and we honour it and do it. But it does bring cultural benefits, and it does, make us be recognised that, one of the reasons why we wanted to bring this in is because, City of Bunbury, City of Busselton, City of Perth, they all have sister cities. It is expected that when you get that sort of city status, which we aren't far off, well, we have already hit 30,000, we just need to maintain it for a few years, that do have these sort of relationships. We have been under enormous pressure to take on a Chinese one, which at the moment we've placed on hold because of, it's difficult to recognise the financial and cultural benefit at the moment, noting tight budgets. And obviously that would need to be relooked at in a few years' time, but at the moment we haven't progressed any further sister cities that were initially thought of.
Right, thank you.
Councillor Capra-Grego.
Yeah, thanks. Just a couple of questions. So, Sam, just listening to Anissa now. So we approved this trip, like it sounds like we're going. The way where we're speaking, I was away last year for a bit. I was wondering if I missed something.
No, it's coming up for a decision next week.
Oh, okay.
So that's why the
decision
report.
next week before budget. Like, have we got a budget? Do we know how much it's going to cost?
It's in the report. So there's a costing that's in this report now. So they're looking at about $20,000, I think. 20,000. Yep. And it'll go up because the trip's not till next financial year. That'll go in the 24-25 budget. Yeah. I'll get Mr. Winter, I think, to elaborate further.
Thank you, Madam President.
Not good with dollars and cents.
Normally we would be simply allocating an amount to go into the draft budget. Because of flights and the booking of this item's really seeking approval now and funding it now from existing budgets that aren't being utilised, and then putting the figure into next year's draft budget. So next week, when you have Ordinary Council meeting, in approving this item, you are in effect approving the flights, and if you're doing the flights, then in effect you're approving the actual trip.
All right with that, Councillor Capra-Grego? I'll let you ponder on that and I'll go to Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, I think I will ponder on it because I'm not 100% all right with it.
Okay, I'll come back to you. I've got another question.
I've just got to get
Thanks, Madam President. So, Mr. Winter, based on your response just then, do I understand that we're going to bring forward some money out of next year's budget to this year's budget to fund this trip? I understand that. But if we're going to have a reciprocal agreement next year as well, we need to increase the budget for next year, more so because they're going to be coming back here. So we're in fact doubling the budget next year, albeit we're bringing some forward. Would that be correct?
No. No, through the chair. So one of the reasons we wanted to book flights now is because they're nearly 50% cheaper by doing it now. Even since I've written the report, they've gone up by $100 each, which is still in the budget. We allow for that. So it is imperative to get the best and most financial deal for council that we plan ahead. I have dollars within the budget at the moment that I haven't spent, and then that will be reimbursed. So I've got another area of money that I haven't spent. And I think so. The manager of finance has agreed that the money could be used and then reimbursed from next year. Next year we won't, because that will be the one trip. So October will be the one trip, and then we will not need to see them again until the October the following year. It therefore takes it through to the 2025 budget. So it's not in the financial year.
So in the 25-26 budget.
So 25-26 budget. So we're only looking at an amount each financial year. We will not be doubling up. They visited us in October, so that came through this financial year's budget. We're asking them to bring it, to reverse the money to allow us to get the best financial deal on those tickets rather than paying. Normally our budget isn't approved until the end of August, so we wouldn't be able to book tickets until September. Which just is, you pay too much money for that. So that's with us, but there will only be one allocation per year for this. We won't have any other, we might need a few $100s for incidentals, but there won't be any major costs in addition.
I know it's relatively short notice, but have we reached out to the other schools to say that we are travelling? And I know the interpreter the Japanese teacher from Ashes maybe has said yes. So have we got any other interest?
We haven't received any further feedback as yet, but we did only send an in-principle email. We obviously didn't want to commit to anything until after this has gone through council. Following the decision, we'll then do a more serious approach to them. For Japanese teachers, it's an excellent teaching and training opportunity. So we have been informed that it is likely that, where possible, the Japanese teachers would really like to attend. We've also invited the principals as well. So we invited the principal and the Japanese teacher of any school that teaches Japanese. Some of the Japanese teachers actually teach for about 2 or 3 schools, so there's not as many to do.
Councillor Coleman, I can see you've got another question, or?
Madam President, I was just going to suggest, is it is it timely to discuss the invitation that Rotary received?
Yes. Yeah, you can brief us, yeah.
Okay, just for everybody's information, through Rotary, and I was invited to the Consulate General of Japan's home for a business and cultural meeting because of Rotary is extremely prestigious in Japan. Just for your knowledge, your deposit to join Rotary in Japan is $20,000 Australian, just to the nomination fee. So through that, they wanted to develop some more cultural opportunities in Western Australia, and knowing that I'm part of the system, I was invited. I couldn't attend, and so I asked if it was not transferable, but I did ask if our Shire President could go along in my place, because it's not so much political as cultural exchange and business exchange. So there's anybody in WA from the Japanese business is going to attend that meeting, that cultural business meeting. And President Campbell has already indicated that the benefits of that are ongoing invitations for lots of other Japanese organisations offering invitations to our President, not as the President of the Shire of Harvey, but as part of the Sister City Exchange. And so they will be looking to come down to Harvey as part of that ongoing dialogue. So there are some significant benefits of this, not the least of which is part of being a shire or a council, but just being part of the sister city. So it's already reaping benefits. The fact that we've had the agreement set up already, and the fact that we just explained that it's strengthened through the schools program is really sort of future-proofing that particular sister city relationship.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Coleman. Are there any other questions, councillors, on this item? Okay, thank you. Corporate Services 5.4.1, payments for January 2024. Are there any questions, councillors? (5.4.2) financial statements as at the 31st of January 2024. Any questions, councillors? 5.4.3, the budget review, 23-24. This was done at the concept forum. We went through the draft budget review. So are there any further questions? All happy? Lots of nods. That's a good sign. Well done, Sunil. Okay, notice of motions for the following meeting. We have one from Councillor Coleman. That's up on the screen there. Are there any questions? No. And Councillor Carboni has put forth a notice of motion in regards to policy on holiday home short stay accommodation, which was an addendum, I believe, that the councillor should have received. Alrighty. I'll go behind closed doors. If there's any questions for these items, I know I have one, so we'll have to. We don't have to today. We just going to remind councillors. Hey, welcome back. If there's no further questions, just a reminder that we have our annual electors meeting next Tuesday, starting at 2:30, I think. 2:30 start. Yeah, so if there's no further questions, I'll declare this meeting closed. Thank you very much. feeling, Wendy?
I'm all right. Can you hear me now?
Oh, you're booming in.
Deaf to you.
Yep, no, we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, well, I dropped out for a bit and then came back in. So when I came back in, that must have done the trick for you hearing me.
Yes, yeah. So good to see you, and hopefully we'll see you here next week, hey?
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I suppose, councillors, just to let you know that I am at a conference for the next 3 days, so